Might as well just pack up the whole season. Georgia's bad, doesn't have a quarterback, no offensive line, and Mike Bobo's still the OC. Let's quit, shouldn't we?
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, more on them in a moment. We appreciate the everydayers that are here with us, the first listeners, those who make it a priority to listen to the podcast every single day. If you're on the audio side, go over to YouTube. If you're on the YouTube side, get over to the audio side. We appreciate you guys being here. This is for fans, by fans. Daniel's not here. I am here with you. We're going to be going throughout the offseason, checking out different grades of position groups, which we've already done. We've done the entire offense. Go back and listen to those. Finish today's episode. Go back and listen, as well as take a listen to defense when we tackle that later on this week, and continuing on, giving you the grades for each position group and where we think they should be. Little hint, we're very high on the wide receivers, very low on the quarterback, somewhere in the middle on offensive line. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the quarterback situation because insiders and gurus just can't help themselves. Again, I'm going to use a couple of things from the world around us. I'm going to check out a couple of insiders and experts and national media people, even people whose job it is to cover Georgia. I'm going to talk about them as well, and how foolish, stupid, bad, awful. I mean, I don't know how else to talk about it. People have to be when you keep on saying the stupidest things that can be said as it pertains about things you've been proven wrong about the entire time in previous years. Segment one, I'm going to talk about the quarterback position and quarterback competition that people cannot help themselves but talk about. Ryan Puglisi, Gunnar Stockton, everybody else after that. I'm going to talk about maybe a little Curtis action in that. He's named a couple of teams, Oregon and Georgia. I'm going to give you some insight into that. And then I'm going to let you know as well how when you doubt Georgia, when you say they can't, they do. Everybody talked about how they could this last year. They didn't. I'm here to tell you, stop it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Stop doing this. Stop. Fan, stop doing what I'm about to tell you. NFL, ESPN experts, stop doing this because you just look stupid. Of course, there's no repercussions for people. We will stand in the paint. When we get things dead wrong, we will stand in the paint. DeAndre Baker, not a lockdown corner. We were dead wrong. Stetson Bennett, not a good quarterback. We were dead wrong. And because of those two things, I've learned a thing or two. See, what happens with fandom is you can, I guess not just fandom, but with people, you can continue being exactly who we think you are and who you've told us you are, or you have the opportunity to change, to develop, to progress, to mature, some may say. I'm going to encourage you to mature as we talk about these topics about Georgia is bad, it's horrible, it's all going downhill. Kirby's lost control. We need to fire him. We need to let him go. That's what fans have said. I'm going to use the quarterback situation to begin with. Insider on 3 puts out a report that says Ryan Puglisi is far behind Gunnar Stockton. Far behind Gunnar Stockton in the quarterback competition. It's gonna have to, we'll have to see come G-Day, maybe in the spring. Look for noise to happen then. But right now, don't expect anything because it is just leaps and bounds ahead that Gunnar Stockton is better than Ryan Puglisi. No, it's not. 2 reasons. 1, you don't know. Just definitively, Kirby Smart is not like other programs. When you hear somebody say you're an insider, when you hear somebody say, Bobo's gonna be gone in a week, I have inside scoop. Somebody tells you they're an inside, disbelieve them. Kirby Smart does not operate as you want him to, or other college campuses and other college universities and other college football teams operate. He keeps things on lockdown. He does not let things slip out. The things that he does let slip out is purposeful, and he wants it to be out there. He will never, nor has ever, told you who the starting quarterback is, ever. at UGA. And all of us speculate time and time and time again as to who it is. And we are proven wrong time and time and time again. Dwan Mathis, JT Daniels, Eason, Fromm. We all said they're the next great quarterback. Eason Stafford Jr., probably better than him. JT is mobile and can get around, and he's going to bring stability to the quarterback position, which he did, by the way. Just not to your liking. Dwan Mathis is the athletic, shifty, can get around all over the field guy. None of them were it. None of them took us to a national championship. Some injuries had occurred for a couple of those guys. I get it. I really do. Stetson Bennett's not it. And plus, I don't want him as my quarterback. He's the Honda Accord of quarterbacks, except it lasts forever. It gets the job done. It does what you need to do. It just doesn't look flashy. Cool. It wins championships. You don't know, and I don't know, and no insider knows what Kirby is thinking. Stop telling me he's light years behind Gunnar Stockton. Point two, what has actually transpired in the last 2 months to make you believe anything worth a lick gives you insight into know how the depth chart is shaping up? You can go to the combine and you can look at Anthony Richardson throw a bomb, or you can look at a Tennessee quarterback throw on a knee. You could look at Justin Fields do whatever in shorts and a t-shirt with dummy bags and think, I got an idea who the quarterback is. No, you don't. Look at the tape, look at film, look at him do something. Right now, Gunnar Stockton has 6-ish quarters that you can actually go ahead and tell me you know who he is. Puglisi, you have no quarters on, admittedly. But to say, well, just wait till fall camp or spring camp after, then maybe what you're saying is, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there. I have no idea what I'm talking about. You're not an insider. You don't know because in 2 months, January and February, there hasn't been any indication to you on the things that Kirby Smart cares about. Kirby Smart cares about full team practice reps. That's what he cares about more than anything else. That makes you believe live action, good on good, I know who the quarterback is. You don't, because it hasn't happened. So it is completely irresponsible. Like completely just the worst take and completely a hack job to say insider tells me. Nope. Because Kirby would never say so. Kirby would never let you into that. Kirby might give you G-Day appearance to let you know, but even that's not going to tell you a lick of anything. He's not going to do that at all, ever. And secondly, there hasn't been any organizational activities whatsoever within Georgia that have told you competitive footballing has happened to let you know who's ahead and who's not. Progression of reads with a live first team defense? Nope. Hasn't happened. Not to the status and not to the ability that Kirby wants it to happen yet. Might get there, yeah. Gunnar Stockton has had 6 quarters and he's been fine. I'm happy with it. Ryan Puglisi has not given his opportunity to shine whatsoever. And he's, by the way, G-Day ain't going to change nothing. Because Kirby doesn't care about G-Day the way you do. Kirby has stated, just listen to them. Kirby has stated, practice reps live best on best is where I care most about. Period. I don't know what to tell you. Stop believing these people. Stop listening to them. Stop letting them write. Maybe they'll go away. I don't know. Maybe they'll stop with the hate of Stetson Bennett. They were the ones that called Stetson Bennett ludicrous. They're the ones that said he couldn't hack it. They were the ones. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh, Gunnar Stockton's a lock. It's just light years ahead. You're kidding yourself. Kirby Smart's going to choose the quarterback for UGA, and you don't know who it is, and I don't know who it is. And Gunnar Stockton does have a couple things historically that works in his favor, but Puglisi can show out and can take the job, and it's not particularly an issue of can he close the gap. There's no gap to be closed in development. It's do you perform? Because this development thing, well, is he developing? Is such an arbitrary, ambiguous thing. Why are we doing it? Please stop. Does he perform? If he performs, he will win the job. Period. Gunnar Stockton performs. Guess what? He will win the job. Can you execute? Can you deliver? That's all that Kirby cares about. We're going to come back, tell you why guys like national media people talking about the demise of how Georgia is bad, huge regression coming in, is so utterly ridiculous. It is February, y'all. We're going to talk about why that is. And then lastly, we're going to talk maybe a little projection, if you will. Loyal third segment listeners, listen all the way in because it's going to be a little fun. But first, these. These are, in fact, Prize Picks. March Madness is here, and there is no better time to get in the action than with Prize Picks. The best place for your daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on 2 players. That's it. You can win up $1,000 your cash. Yes, 1,000 times your cash. This week, I'm looking at Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds. Pretty easy one. Plus, when I win, my money hits the account as little as 15 minutes. No waiting around. Download the app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONCalls. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONCalls. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Kirby has lost control, and ESPN is telling us that they're the most likely to regress in college football. Okay, first of all, can we start with the lunacy of most likely to regress? I'm not saying, and by the way, Paul Feinbaum, ESPN, has talked about this a million times. He's talked about how Georgia's in a precarious position. He did this with Alabama because it got him views. And now he's doing it to Georgia. He did it with Alabama when Nick Saban was there, and it got him views. And he was known as the Alabama guy. Georgia's now the big dog everywhere, still in the playoffs, hasn't won back-to-back national championships in 2 years. Okay, shame on us. But Georgia's the big dog at the table, and it gets the views. Look at our own network. Every time there's an SEC crossover, Georgia's the logo. That's not coincidence, people. I want to talk about people like Feinbaum, people like ESPN, people who talking about how the regression of Georgia. It might be that Georgia regresses and doesn't get an SEC championship. More on that in a second, because it seems like we are heading to a championship-less SEC. I think, because this super conference, I don't know what's going to happen with it, truth be told. But it does seem like conference championships are a thing of the past. Seems like automatic bids are going to be there. That's most important. It seems like it could be even like this is the last one this coming year. And even that's not guaranteed, because we know how college football, things can change in a heartbeat. Okay? Like, for real. But let's talk about when we say regressions. Okay? You're telling me Georgia, which, by the way, the final Associated Press has Georgia ranked 6th. A fair assessment for how the playoffs landed and how everything came about that. How Ohio State won and Oregon got blown out. And Notre Dame was just fine, by the way, had a great season. We're now talking that the 6th ranked Georgia has the best chance of regression. So you're saying we're going to be 8-4 next year? Look at the schedule. This is what, I just don't understand. Look at the schedule. Paul Feinbaum, ESPN, most likely to regress. Texas at home, Alabama at home, Tennessee on the road. Okay. But Tennessee does not scare me. It's the boogeyman. Kentucky doesn't scare me anymore. Tennessee doesn't scare. It's not the boogeyman. Is it going to be hard fought? Yeah. Can we lose? Yeah. But if you're looking at the schedule, I think 2 losses is likely. I think that's likely. 2 losses. We were 11-3. By the way, 2 losses does not, I think, get us into the SEC championship. It does get us in the playoff. We get to the playoff. We get in. We lose a game there. Now we're at 3 losses. And, oh, look, Georgia was 11-3 last year. A 3-loss team, we're not going 8-4. That schedule is not going to dictate. We go 8-4. There are just heads rolling everywhere because we have the talent composition. We have a great roster. We have guys coming back. We have coaches in place and a schedule that is favorable to us. The two biggest tests we took, Texas on the road and Alabama on the road, we nearly pulled out. The losses were horrible. Admittedly, just okay. I hear you. What makes you think we're not going to be in the playoff with the schedule we have, an SEC championship that doesn't matter anymore? Even if we do lose that, we're still in. Case in point, look at the playoffs this last year. Texas nearly lost to Arizona State. Here are teams that are more likely to regress, Paul, ESPN, than Georgia. Number 1, Texas. The aforementioned Texas. Arch Manning, great. He's got a cool last name. Guaranteed to be successful? Nope. When he came in, he was the running quarterback, and Quinn Ewers was the throwing quarterback, and Quinn Ewers sucked at throwing. They are very likely to regress, in my mind. Notre Dame, hello. Yeah, likely to. They went to the national championship. They won't this next year. I mean, Jeremiah Love is a real deal. I really enjoy his game. I think he is one of the best running backs. But are you kidding me? How about Ole Miss? Is Simmons the dude? Is that guy it? If he is, okay, but they lost a whole lot of production. SEC snap counts has Georgia and Ole Miss being near the bottom of returning production. How about SMU? How about Arizona State without Scattaboo? Penn State? What about them? What if they can't get back because they lost a top 3, if not best draft prospect, Abdul Carter? And he was a large part of that defense. That was pretty stingy, truth be told. But they're losing dudes, and you think Penn State's not a risk because it's Penn State? What about Tennessee? They're losing a lot of production as well. These teams I would have above Georgia. Georgia, you look at it, you say snap count is lowest returning snap count in the SEC. Gunnar Stockton in, no Carson Beck. ETN gone. Defensive got gutted. Michael Williams gone. Jalen gone. And you think, oh no, we have nobody left. Oh no. We were a playoff team that got bounced in our first round. I know it wasn't the first round, but it was our first round. That was a horrible year. You're telling me we're going to regress from that, meaning we're not going to make the playoffs? It's a tired game. You just put Georgia in. I've listed off other colleges that I legitimately think will regress. I think Alabama makes the playoff this coming year. 100% do. I think they'll be better next year than they were this last year, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. I think Oregon will be just fine. I think Notre Dame will make the playoff. I think Ohio State will make the playoff. I think Indiana will make the playoff. I actually think Ole Miss is going to be fine as well. Yet to see if they make the playoff or not. But in the SEC, give me South Carolina. They're going to be fine. Give me Missouri possibly to make some noise, although they have a lot of talent, not snap, but talent to replace. What about Colorado? Talk about dropping off. They weren't good. They won't be good next year because they lose in everybody. And Deion Sanders is not there for the long haul. I get so tired of this game where we can't look at objective reasoning. And just because we want to put something out there, we say Georgia's going to regress. They had a down year already. Last year was a down year for us. Horrible offensive line play, questionable quarterback play, couldn't run the ball, and our defense was gutted up the middle. I feel better about this team coming in to 2025 than I do about 2024 and what we were able to accomplish. I feel better about that. This is what happens when you don't actually cover, when we don't actually look, when you don't actually know the team, but at all. This is what happens. And it's just sad. Paul, We're the new Alabama. Just say it. Just tell us we are. You're worried about Kirby Smart losing control and being too loyal? We're going to talk about that in the third segment, as well as some intel on a quarterback. But too loyal to Bobo? I'm going to bring up some dudes that we thought were the best offensive coordinators in all of college football and where they are now and what's happening to their life and how ebbs and flows go and how it's not as black and white ones and zeros as everybody wants to make it be. And that's not me looking at sunshine and rainbows. That's not even me being a defender of anybody. That's me literally saying how life is. And you saying otherwise in a college football fan of Ohio State, of Tennessee, of anybody else besides Georgia. This is Georgia fans here, for fans by fans. So I don't know what you're doing here, Tennessee, but you're here. I don't know what you're doing here, Alabama, but you're here. I want to say, let it play out. Let it play out. But first, these. All right, we're talking about a couple of quarterback interesting notes, as well as why it's so crucial that Georgia fans and everybody else just stops this narrative of coaching and hires and who's the best and who's great and who's glorious and yada 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 yada. This is like the we're far too into spring already. We're far too in the off season. Like, this is actually, all of these conversations are stage like 5 of the off season. This is when people at stage 5, this is threat level red. Okay. Threat level midnight. We are in bad shape. Our pets' heads are falling off. We're looking for anything. We're already there, and it's not even March yet. Well, guys, calm down. We'll have plenty of time to get to we're going to be awful, horrible, not make the playoffs. Plenty of time left. Maybe y'all just went there immediately to build yourself back up, but we got time to do it. Here's what's crazy to me about how people talk about Kirby being too loyal. Paul Feinbaum talking about how he's just the worst, and he's being too loyal to Bobo, and we need coaching changes. That might be the case. Stacey Searles does not give me great hope. I do not feel good about him heading into the offensive line room this next year. I don't. I would have loved if Sam Pittman never left for the dumpster fire that is Arkansas. Really would have, but here we are. Before we go declaring things that have yet to happen, do you all remember? I remember the six years ago. 6 years ago, Daniel and I were talking as we were looking at Kirby Smart, and we're looking about him coming in, and a couple of hires that he had in the wings, and people that was thinking about. And we hadn't fired everybody yet because he had brought his guys over, but kept a couple dudes. And so we played the hypothetical game: who would you like to have as offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator at UGA? We did not select Glenn Schumann. We did not select Dan Lanning. We didn't have any of those guys whatsoever. We had other coordinators. We had other people in mind. I named a guy from North Texas as offensive coordinator that I wanted 6-7 years ago that no one knows about and is not doing well. Okay. I just want us to play the game. Do you know who's going to hit and who isn't going to hit? Because Todd Monken, before he came to Georgia, was unceremoniously fired as the Browns offensive coordinator because he couldn't hack it. No, it turns out the Browns are a bad organization with a horrible situation and horrible roster management, and it wasn't Todd Monken's fault. Like, maybe that's it. Maybe Todd Monken was a dude that no one wanted to give a hiring position. If you were to fly back then and say, who's going to hire Todd Monken? Well, he's an old curmudgeon dude who doesn't really know the guys, doesn't really get it, and just got fired from the Browns. If you get fired from the Browns, man, how bad do you have to be? If I were to when that took place, people were like, oh man, maybe Kirby does. I don't know. Yeah, he did have some success elsewhere. Maybe it wasn't a home run hire, and it turned out to be a home run offensive coordinator. You look at college football, Lincoln Riley, best offensive mind in football, not doing anything for playoff contention. And the offense is sputtering at USC. I guess what I'm trying to say when we say he's being too loyal, maybe that's what's needed. Because if you look at what Bill Belichick, if you look at these coaches, if you look at Bobby, if you look at coaches with longevity, they're able to change, they're able to learn, they're able to morph, they're able to do something different. I'm not declaring that will be the case. What I am declaring is it could be. And my stupidity of who I'd rather have, Joe Brady, I'd rather have Lincoln Riley. I'd maybe throw him a deal like we did, with Oregon, or we did with Ohio State. We did with Chip Kelly. Bring him on. Well, Chip last year he dipped to get a boatload of money in the NFL. Maybe that was his play all along. He looked around and was like, I can't do the head coaching thing in college because UCLA is going to suck for a while, and this game is changing too much. I want to go get paid. Maybe that's what he did. Maybe you can't have guys like that. Maybe if you want success over decades, maybe it has to be something different than the game that you're playing, like everybody else is playing, because everyone else ends in a one-hit wonder of $40 million in debt. Maybe Kirby knows something and Mike Bobo is going to change. I'm not defending him or saying otherwise. I'm just saying when you say Kirby Smart is too loyal, I say, is that a bad thing? Like, honestly, is that an indictment on somebody? Because he was too loyal to Todd Monken then, because Todd Monken was fired from the Browns, unemployed, not college guy, grumpy old man. He wasn't too loyal to him. He's not too loyal to Bobo. He's not too loyal to Glenn. He wasn't too loyal to Dan. He has a system. He has his way. Now, lastly, let's touch on the quarterback. Curtis from Nashville, Tennessee says he's got two schools in mind, Oregon and Georgia. And many people are just going out and saying, well, Georgia has no shot. He's going to Oregon. I want to tell you why him naming Georgia and Oregon as the final two is good news for Georgia. I'm not declaring him coming to Georgia because no one knows that. No one will know that. And we won't know that for some time. I will say this, however, if you're looking at how Oregon does the portal, if you're looking at how they do roster development, and you're looking at how they do the playoffs, they get blown out of the playoffs. They have a good season within conference. They have a lack of winning the big one. That is true as true can be. They eked out a win against Ohio State. It was eked out. It was still a win. But they do transfer quarterbacks a lot. Like a lot at Oregon. And they kind of have their system. They kind of have their way. He's from Nashville. He's from Tennessee. Oregon is interesting place to go to. He's already been committed to Georgia and then decommitted Georgia, and yet we're in the top two. Normally when that happens, and Georgia had said, and he had said, they're still on my list, and Kirby Smart said, we're not giving up. Kid wants to go explore. Everything that's happening, the landscape of college football, the changing dynamics, the hires that Kirby has made on offense, the legislation being passed in Georgia, the culture surrounding the team, it's not a foregone conclusion he's going to Oregon. It really isn't. Because if you look at the success that Georgia's had getting guys drafted, we're about to hit another benchmark this coming draft of guys getting drafted. And if you look at the quarterback room, I know Montgomery's there, I know Puglisi's there, and I know Gunnar Stockton's there. But if you're telling me you can commit and all those guys have another year under their belts coming next spring, and this guy is the real deal 5-star, it is an open competition. As much as insiders want to say, no, it's not. It is. Every single year it is. We have the atmosphere. We have the NIL. We have the development. We have the notoriety. And we have the quarterback room that favors him because we're not going to bring in a transfer senior to Georgia like Oregon does almost on the regular. Our chances are equal, if not better, to Oregon. I'm not declaring he's coming to Georgia. What I am saying is stop saying he's going to Oregon definitively. We have a good shot at this one, but I'm not going to Arch Manning myself into consternation about it. It's going to be what it is. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'll see y'all later.